such a surreal moment for me. I'm such a big fan of your work. Wow. Oh my goodness. Koya, it is such an honor to connect with you today. Welcome to the Soul Collective podcast.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. I really value what you're doing in the world and how you're shining your light. And I think that's what life asks of all of us. Just how can we use our gifts and talents to serve the world?
I love that. So there's so much that I want to dive in and talk with you about today. You know, we're recording this amidst a global pandemic and social justice movement, but I want to start by asking you what right now is setting your soul on fire?
That's such a good question. What right now that's setting my soul on fire is just knowing that I'm enough. You know, today, as I am, flawed with all my mistakes, with all of my hiccups, with all of the love that I have to give, that I am enough. Because it's been so many times in my life that I felt like I wasn't enough and I had to work 10 times as hard to be seen or to be heard. Even during this pandemic, I've been through so many emotions, so many layers of my own trauma revealed and healed, and guiding others through their own as well. So it's been a journey. It's been quite a journey. So what's really ringing true for me now, as I've kind of healed to those things, is just that I am enough and I am love, and I want everyone to feel that. Just know that you are enough and you're loved. Just breathing, just being, and choosing love in each breath and each moment is enough. And I think that that's so important right now.
That's such a powerful message. I feel like that is so needed in our world right now. I feel like there's so many opportunities to go to fear or to go to the limiting beliefs. And that's why I'm so glad that we're going to dive into those today, because I know that has been such a powerful part of my own story, is to unearth some of those limiting beliefs that show up and we're conditioned around, so I want to just take it back to your story, your upbringing. What was it like growing up in Humboldt, Tennessee?
Oh my goodness. Well, we didn't have much growing up. I was raised in the country, outside of town, and we lived in a trailer, six of us, my mom, my dad, and I have three brothers and sisters, one older brother, a younger brother, and a younger sister. And it was tough growing up, borrowing clothes from the helping hand, not really knowing where the next meal was going to come or when it was going to come, making our own little humble garden in the backyard. It was tough, but what I learned then was just how to be grateful and how to appreciate everything that I have and everyone that I have in my life. And I feel like that message has never left me. And so that's how I was growing up as a small town girl. And now that I'm in California and, living in Marina Del Rey, even though I see, abundance all around me and surrounded in nature, like I never forget like how hard my grandparents worked. I remember cleaning houses with them. They were janitors. My grandmother was a school teacher and my grandfather fought in World War II. And then afterwards they became janitors, and we would go and clean houses every day. And I just don't forget those times of when I just really enjoyed like the little things. And so even this weekend, my friend was laughing like at me washing the dishes. They were like, "You don't use your dishwasher?" And because I use my dishwasher as a drying rack. I was like, "No, I like to wash the dishes. I like to feel like connection with the dishes, and the dishwasher doesn't always do a good job." And honestly, it just reminds me of being at my grandma's house and like washing dishes, and just, it's one of those things that's weird. And I don't like doing a ton of dishes, but there is like a ritualistic part of like, I love to either turn on a podcast or turn on my favorite music and just kind of wash dishes. And yeah, it brings me joy. So I just love to remember those moments of closeness with nature and closeness with my family. And that's probably even what I miss the most about this time, is just not having that. I have a lot of connection over Zoom, more than I've ever had before, which is great, but actually being able to hug them and touch them has been something that I miss. But it really did instill this sense of love and connection in me, which I will never, ever let go of.
Yeah. So growing up, did you always have these huge dreams and vision for what you wanted to do in the world?
I think at a certain age, I don't know how old I was exactly, but around 9 or 10, we went on our first trip. We went on our first trip like outside of my little small town, and I was like, oh my goodness, things are so different. There's water and there's trees, and there's just seeing another part of the world really lit my soul on fire. And I was like, I want to travel when I grow up. I want to travel the world. I want to see everything. I want to see different people, because people were dressed different, people were talking different, and it just fascinated me. And even coming out to California, the reason I love it is because it's so diverse. In Tennessee, it's kind of just black and white, right? And you come to California, you see all different people from all different cultures, all different shapes and sizes, and it's amazing. And so I love people. I love listening to people, hearing their stories, and just our unique differences. I feel like it's the spice of life. It's what makes life beautiful. And so that's why I love California. And that's what I got a taste of when I was a young girl. And I was like, I want more of this. I knew that I wanted to travel and meet people and learn about different cultures and how the world works in different parts.
Yes, yes. And I know sports were a huge part of your upbringing and journey. And really, you were training for the Olympics when you got some really horrible news. Explain what that process was like in your life, and really, how that changed your trajectory in terms of the work that you're doing in the world.
Mm. I knew again from a young age, like I hated to see people in pain. And then I didn't know I was like empathic or super sensitive. I was just like, oh no, when someone else was in pain, I was in pain, like, and I wanted to help them. And so I didn't know if that was being a doctor or being a physical therapist or being a nurse. And I went down all those paths and I shadowed those people, but somehow something always seemed to be missing. If someone was a doctor, they didn't have enough time with their family, or if they were like more time with their family, they didn't make the finances they wanted. It was always like a trade-off, if you will.
Yes.
And I knew I didn't want to trade off. I wanted a balance of feeling like I was stable and financially stable in my life, and also doing something that I love, but I didn't know exactly what that was until I met a personal trainer. And when I met a personal trainer, they were like, oh yeah, I make, a good amount, and I help people and I have free time. And I was like, oh, that sounds like fun. And so I got excited about the fact that helping people with their lives. And when I was in college, I was running track and field, and I became the team captain. And that was my kind of release. And that was kind of my ticket to travel the world, like I always wanted to do. So I worked hard in high school, got a track scholarship, and was, running. And one day after class, I got this sharp pain in my back, and fell to the ground and was taken to the doctor, and I found out I had a stress fracture. And so just in that moment when I was kind of slated to win the conference championship and be the next, winner, and really lead my team to this victory, I was sidelined. And in that moment, I felt like, okay, wow, my career is over. What am I going to do? I don't have a plan B. Like, this was my plan A, and I only had a plan A. And I was just devastated and crying in classes. And my teacher was just like, you know what? Check out the counselor, see what she has to say. And the counselor suggested that I try yoga. And at that time, I had no idea what yoga was. And I was nervous that it was a different religion, coming from the South. And I was very hesitant, but the counselor was like, you're going to love it. Just try it out. So I got to the class, and I'm looking at all these people and these poses. I'm like, this is not me. I'm an athlete. I can't do this. I can't even touch my toes. This is ridiculous. My head hurts. I'm not made for this. I had every excuse, and I'm not doing it. Like, and the teacher saw how frustrated I was, and she came to me and she was like, I just want you to breathe with me. And we took this deep inhale and exhale together, and I felt this connection to my soul. I felt chills in my body, and I was like, okay, this is good. This is really good. I can do this. I can do this breath thing, right? And so I kept breathing and doing the best that I could in poses, and then eventually that feeling transitioned into confidence. And then I started taking better care of myself, because at first I was trying to maintain a 4.0 GPA and run track and field and, be the team captain. And so I was doing all this work, not getting enough sleep, and just not taking care of myself. And so in this time that I was injured, I took better care of myself. I ate better. I started swimming. I started biking and just really building up my stamina so I didn't lose it. And after a year of yoga and really mindfulness, I returned to the track to win the conference meet and lead Wichita State to their first women's championship. So
Wow.
yeah, it was awesome.
That is amazing. What a powerful story, and how you were able to really, discover a new part of yourself. It's funny because I think we always think about athletes as sort of like the epitome of health, and that may or may not be the case, right? Like, we can sometimes fall out of balance. And like you were saying, with not sleeping much and working around the clock, trying to maintain your GPA and balance everything that, a collegiate athlete has to think about. That's a lot. And then you actually, through yoga, were able to discover a new pathway forward that involved taking care of yourself in a better way.
Absolutely. I think that, you know, life happens for us, not to us, and I think a lot of us, we're like, okay, what the world's have this is happening to us. But I think one thing that I gained from that injury that's been helping me right now is to realize that every challenge is an opportunity to grow. Every single one, no matter how unfair, toxic, tragic, it is still an opportunity for us to grow and evolve. And that's how I've taken this time. And that's why I teach my students, just like, how can you be the best version of yourself in this time? With whatever you're dealt with, how can you be the best version of yourself? And I truly believe, if in every instance we ask ourselves, like, yeah, this sucked, let's acknowledge the pain and let's talk about it. Let's heal through it, and see how we can still show up as love, and we can still show up as the best version of ourselves.
Yes, I love that. And it's something that really struck me about your book, is this shift between the victim to the creator mindset. And that sometimes is like a hard leap to make, like sometimes it's like, oh, well, why did this have to happen? Like I was just getting into the groove. And so it's that reminder of like, no, we are, like you said, everything is happening for a reason. And what can I learn? What can I take from this situation to grow?
Absolutely. We are victims once if something happens to us and something tragic happens. But the more we replay it in our mind, and the more we think about it over and over, and why me, what did I do wrong, what did them, da, 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 it becomes toxic again and again and again, and it wounds us again and again and again and again. And so instead of being that continual victim, we can turn that victim into being a creator. What can we create? How can we grow from what happened so it doesn't happen again to us or anybody else? How can we change, the systems that you spoke about before, these systems of oppression that are really rampant around the world? How can we change that so life can be better for us and life can be better for, and when I say us, I mean all of us, because I truly believe if someone is hurting anywhere, someone is hurting everywhere. And if we don't take a moment to breathe into that pain and say, what can we do to make a difference, then we're missing the mark.
Yes, yes. And Koya, want to ask you that because I feel like it goes back to the inner work that we all need to do. And healing trauma is something that is just, I think it's one of the most courageous things that we can all do, is to look at some of those shadows, look at some of those wounds that are holding us back from shining our light in the most positive way in the world. And so I love that you cover that in your book. And I was wondering if you could touch on some of the things that have been really healing and helpful in your journey, and stuff that you help your clients with through that process.
Well, one of the things that I think is so helpful is meditation and breath work. I mean, I believe breath is spirit, and we can use the breath, we can use the prana, that energy, that life force, and bring it through our body in a way that we are energetically removing these traumatic imprints that have had an effect on our physical and energetic body. So we want to acknowledge, like, yeah, this happened, like this had an effect on me, but how can I get rid of that negative energy, the negative vibration, this this fear, this trauma, like I healed myself from this physical injury, but it took time. And that's the biggest thing. It does take time. Just like a physical injury takes time, an emotional or spiritual wound takes time to heal as well. And I think that sometimes we want that instant gratification. We want to do it right away. We want to heal right away. But it does take time. And first of all, it takes acknowledgement. And so for me, just acknowledging, okay, these things happened to me. Like I was taken advantage of, I was assaulted. And how do I look at that situation and say, that wasn't my fault? And how do I look at that situation and say, that person was in this toxic state at that time? How do I forgive myself? How do I forgive them? You go through those steps of realizing that none of us are perfect, and we all go through different stages of where we harm other people. And you develop this sense of compassion for yourself and for others, not tolerating any toxicity, but noticing it. And that's what you learn doing meditation. You notice things without attaching to them. You notice them, you observe them, and then you release them. And so me going back to heal my own trauma, I had to notice myself in a situation. I had to observe myself. And then I had to let it go and say, I am not attached to that situation. I am loved. This is who I am. And though I've went through these experiences in my life, no experience in my life defines me. I am purely love. In the present, in this moment, you're loved. I am loved, no matter what happens. And I know we like to pile on the accolades, right? And I'm grateful for the things I've been able to do. But at the end of the day, I am love in this moment. I am not the negative nor the positive of the past or of the future that I'm hopefully manifesting. I am in the present, and in the present I am love. And the more that we can bring ourselves back from this place, it provides a really powerful healing space for people to be in, especially in times like these, when we're like, what could we have done differently? Or what are we going to do? It's so uncertain. It's like, we can be love right now. Because no matter what, whether it's pandemic or not, or social justice time where we're making these big changes or not, we're responsible for one thing, one day at a time, one breath at a time. And if in that we are mindful, then we're paving the way with our actions, with our thoughts, with our words. And if we're being mindful in the moment, then it's going to trickle down into every other moment. Then it's going to help naturally heal the things in the past. So I'm really excited about just being a proponent for love and consciousness. And yes, doing the research, yes, doing the manifestation, but not attaching to those things, just observing them. What are they bringing up? What are they teaching us about now? How are they bringing us to a love state in the now? I think that is the way to use the past and the future to vibrate at a high frequency in the now, so that we are attracting more of what we want versus what we don't want.
Yes, yes. I love everything that you just said, and it's so powerful. I think one of the biggest breakthroughs for me also has been meditation, because it gave me the ability to tap into what I was really thinking on a, subconscious level. Sometimes we're not even aware of our own energy. If we're going so fast, like you said, it's like that ability to understand what we're attracting, or understanding, how our energy is affecting a situation, and to be able, like you said, to come back to the present moment is such a powerful tool. And I notice with you, it's like your energy field is so, so big, and I know that is a result of consciousness work. It is a result of, being present in the moment, and, doing that inner work that you've shared about, which is so, so powerful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I feel like it's a daily journey of me learning myself and acknowledging where I fall short, acknowledging where I harm myself, or I have negative thoughts, negative self-talk to myself, or I might think a negative thought about someone else, and just like, well, okay, where is that coming from? Where are you hurt? Where is there toxicity? Where is there a wound? And being willing to look at myself first, and notice that, if I address first the darkness in myself, then I'll be able to heal myself. Therefore, I can help others address the darkness that they see within. And that trickles out, so we can really address the darkness in the world. But if we're not willing to look at that darkness inside ourselves, if we're just like, oh, I'm perfect, and we want to spiritual bypass like everything, and feel like it's all light and love, and that's great. We want it to be that, but this is also life. And there's also duality. And in duality, there's night and day, there's hot and cold. And there's these things that we're going through during our human experience that want to be acknowledged. And if we don't acknowledge them, they will come out in some type of way. But if we're able to acknowledge them and we're able to be honest about them, then we can move forward more mindful. And that's when the change happens. The change happens starting with acknowledgement.
Yes, that's so true. And you're absolutely right. It's like they are going to show up regardless. So even if we, if we sweep it under the rug or not, conscious of it, it comes up in some way, shape, or form. So, um, you know, I want to talk about fears and limiting beliefs because that is one of the, big things that you hit on in the book. And it's been a really, really big part of my journey is just all the stories that I told myself of you're not good enough or the perfectionism, the self-criticism. And it still is. Like, I don't know if there's a moment where you arrive where you say like, I'm free from all fear. I'm free from all limiting beliefs. I think it is a journey and a work in progress. But what do you think? What has been your personal journey with overcoming fear and eliminating limiting beliefs?
I think fear is feedback. Limiting beliefs are feedback. They're showing you, I feel like limiting beliefs, whether it's I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm not smart enough, I'm not wise enough, those are all vibrations of fear. And they're all feedback to, okay, where you need more love. We need to address why do you not feel, why do you feel like that age is a thing? Why do you feel like height or this is a thing? And what's happening and where can we heal? Where can we heal internally? Or is this something going on in the world that we need to heal? Like, is there a system? Is there an organization? Is there a person? So it's coming up for a reason. And when something harms us, it's not always personal. It could be something outside. It could be something inside, but that's where the conversation starts. But first we have to acknowledge, this makes me feel uncomfortable. I feel uncomfortable. I don't feel right. Instead of saying, okay, I got it. It's fine. It's fine. Everything. And I normalize a lot of the pain I've experienced in my life. And I've had to learn how to express myself, how to cry, how to scream, how to yell, how to just kind of like get it out. So I don't hold on to it, because we don't have to hold on to this pain. We don't have to hold on to this trauma. So I'm learning every single day to release, and let go and express. And when we are able to look at those limiting beliefs and say, you know what, I'm going to turn this limiting belief into a liberating affirmation. I am going to acknowledge this is not true. This is not who I am. This is not love. And this is what I'm going to manifest. And whatever that is, you say, okay, you know what? I am enough. And my life matters. My voice matters. I'm going to get out there and vote. I'm going to say what I need to say. I'm going to call out injustices. I'm going to let people know when my feelings are hurt without taking it personal. Just let people know that didn't feel good. And when we stand in that power and saying like, I can change the trajectory of my future by creating these liberating affirmations that make us feel that we are free to express. We are free to be fully who we are. That's when we become empowered.
Yes. Koya, what would you say to a young woman out there that has a huge vision for what she wants to achieve in the world, but maybe just those voices inside tell her, she's not ready or she should just keep, staying small? What advice would you have?
If you stay small, you're cheating the world, because the world needs you, and you were born for greatness. You were born to be fierce. You were born to live your life full out. The world needs all of us right now, living as the best versions of ourselves. That's why we were born. So it is your birthright to be great. Be great. And don't let any of those limiting beliefs, maybe someone in your family was toxic, maybe they had limiting beliefs and they put those limiting beliefs on you, or maybe you picked them up on TV, or maybe because you were treated a certain way. Let them go. And no, it is your birthright to be great and to be abundant and to be healthy and to have all the beautiful things life has to offer. Time in nature, and whatever level that is up to you. It's not about having all the material things. It's not about having all the followers. It's not about having anything outside of yourself and whatever you feel like you need to feel love. And once you have that, that's all you need. No one can say what that is but you. So I think sitting down and really closing your eyes and searching your soul, what brings me joy? What brings me joy? Is that helping someone in need? Is Is it teaching children how to read? Is it helping older adults with their fitness? Is it teaching economics? Is it activism? Is it numerology? Is it yoga? Is it, being a doctor or a nurse, or well, it could be anything. And all of that stuff's beautiful. Like, that's why we have so many professions, because there's no right or wrong. It's just a choice. And hopefully that choice comes from the heart space and not from being forced or shamed or guilted into doing something that you don't want to do. Because I truly believe there is something for everyone. And when all of us are doing what we want to do, we feel that joy, we feel that connection, and we're all taken care of. We all can nurture each other if we're all knowing that we are enough. We are all standing in our power and using our gifts and talents to help each other. I think that's when we're going to feel balance in the world.
Yes, yes, I love that so much, and I agree with you. It's that frequency of love. It's like living from the heart center that makes us feel alive. It makes us, whatever that joy is. But I do know that self-love can be elusive. It could be like, I know that I need self-love. I know I need to love myself more, but how do I get there? And that's why I love that you created the Get Loved Up community, so, and also all of these rituals and practices. So maybe share a few of your favorite rituals that you incorporate throughout the day.
I love that, and thank you so much. I appreciate. I'm glad you love the book, and it feels so good to get all the feedback every day, and like people taking pictures of the book and saying like this part and this
Yes.
part changed my life. And I think the thing that's brought me the most joy is just seeing people create their own love banks. And so in the book, I talk about a love bank and how you basically take a mason jar or a container, whatever you have, and you write down all the things that bring you joy. So time in nature, um, coloring, washing dishes, whatever it is, all right? You write it down on a piece of paper and you put in your love bank. And when you're not feeling great, when you're feeling down, or maybe you're judging yourself, pull out your love bank and pull something out and do something that brings you joy, because that's going to shift your energy. We're energetic beings, and we're in the vibration of not feeling good enough. That's a vibration of fear. And when we're in a vibration of joy, that's a vibration of love. And when we can shift from fear to love, eventually we can start healing whatever it is causing that pain. We can start acknowledging, but first it's important to shift the energy, right? And so that love bank is one of my favorite rituals. Also, I love just doing a lot of reflective writing, just writing how I feel. I think a lot of time we keep things bottled up. And again, we're energetic beings. So I talk to people about like yelling, screaming, shouting, dancing, and writing. If you're not as expressive, right? Just writing how you feel, even when it's ugly, even when it's like something you need to tell someone, but you don't want to say it, but you could just write it down or record a video, because it gets that energy outside of your spiritual center, and it just gets it out and it disseminates it. And so that's another practice that I do, is called transformational writing, and where I just like write how I feel. It doesn't matter how it comes out, it doesn't matter how negative. And then also, if I've been harmed, I write an apology letter to myself. And I learned this from my breathwork teacher, John Paul Crimi, and it's changed my life so much. Like breathwork and getting my breathwork certification has changed my life. Doing the holotropic breathwork and just removing some of the trauma I experienced from like, microaggressions, and being in a society that is oppressive, and normalizing that oppression, and still trying to be the best and be 10 times better and just show up smiling all the time, even though in my heart I'm crying. I had to do a lot of breath work to heal that trauma, and a lot of writing, and I still do. And now I'm in a place of feeling a lot better. And, even with, what happened recently with the George Floyd incident, like I have PTSD, and I visualized my brother and when he got jumped when I was really young, and it traumatized me all over again. And I thought that was so long ago, but we don't know. We don't know the pain that we hold inside until something triggers it to come up. But we can trust when it's triggered to come up. Just let it come and let it out, and don't feel bad for having the thoughts. And I was so angry. I was enraged, and I visualized things that I would never repeat. And I was like, oh my goodness, like this is not great. But I allowed myself to get that anger and that rage out. So now it's not inside me. I can say, and I could talk to the first time I told the story, I was in tears, and I couldn't tell that story without being in tears because I was just processing the pain. And so I truly believe that transformational letter writing is what I did, what I've been doing for almost a year now, and has helped me process, like, deep seated pain. And I feel like once we start doing yoga and meditation, we start processing. But then when you get a little bit deeper, you get some deeper stuff that, ancestral stuff and stuff from childhood that you were like, oh, I thought I was good. I thought I was fine. I'm in bliss. And then you start getting those lessons in. And I really truly feel we start healing our DNA, and we start healing trauma that is passed on from generations and generations when you really commit to doing the work, commit to not having to be perfect, commit to acknowledging the pain and trauma when it comes up. I truly believe we're not only healing for ourselves, we're healing for our community, we're healing for our world.
Beautiful. Yeah, those are such powerful tools. Breath work. I love the apology letter. And, I do think this is such a powerful and transformative time. And, you and I chatted about this a little bit before, is just this feeling of like how to have a voice in creating change and eliminating some of these systems and structures that are oppressing. And so, and I think there's also this fear of getting it wrong, or, not, knowing what your place is in this, in what is happening in the world right now. So what is your advice for creating positive change right now? And how can we each do the work in order to create positive change?
I think that's such a powerful question. And honestly, I feel like exactly what we're doing, having the conversation. So many people are running from the conversation. Some people are scared to even have conversations with me. And I feel like, for no reason other than you might not think, or you might feel like you might harm me. And it's just like, well, you have to be willing to have the conversations with the people who are willing to have the conversations with you. And you can't go off what one person says or one group of people say. You have to literally just have the conversations with people that are willing to have the conversations with you, and not make any judgment for people who don't, or people who have a different opinion. Know that people are different, and no one person defines a group of people. I see that happen a lot now, just defining groups of people. And it's like, we're all so beautifully and uniquely different. And I feel when people really own the fact that, groups of people have been oppressed, and it's not personal, it's facts, and I think people are wising up to the facts and studying about the facts, but then somehow it shifts back to being personal, and I feel like that's what's causing a sense of separation, and sense of people like because we're talking about, uh, Black Lives Matter, and because we're saying Black people and white people, a lot of people are like, oh, well, this is separation. And it's no, well, this is history. And we're talking about history, and we're acknowledging the pain. It only feels like separation because it's uncomfortable. And it's only separation if you don't feel connected.
Yes.
But if you feel connected, and if you feel like one, how is it separation? It's just us talking about what is facts and what is true and what has happened over time, and how to deal with those happenings, and how to address feelings as they come up, and how to define them, and how to get through them. And it can be painful because I feel like most of us have been taught, we have been in this cloak of white supremacy our entire lives since birth. I know I have, and I know I normalize feeling like white is best, white is better. And I am amazing, but just because of how things are, certain people get different privileges and things that I don't necessarily have. And I wasn't the person, again, had normalized. So I'm like, I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to let it stop me from anything. But it did affect me. And being able to acknowledge the effect that this reality and the way I was treated had an effect on me. A lot of people, just for me acknowledge it, they don't want to talk to me. Like, oh, you're just perpetuating this system that's separating us. I was like, yeah, the system is separating us, and I'm just talking about, And that is something that I was afraid to do before. and I'm not now, and I've lost friends because of it and followers, and that's okay. I feel like everyone has their way that they're going to process it, and I'm not in judgment of that. My only hope is that everyone returns to love. My only hope is everyone that sees that we are all one, and acknowledging another person's pain or a group of people's pain is not taking any love away. We have to acknowledge the pain in order to heal. But if we're going to call the pain separation when it's pain, clearly, then there's no way to process it, because now we're not really to look at it and sit through the uncomfortability of it and listen. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of now. I'm seeing a lot of exhaustion with, talking about oppression. And but I also see a lot of people really breaking through and making changes, not only in their personal lives, but in their families and in their systems and their work and in their job. And that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about the people who are like, wow, oh my God, I didn't know this. I'm excited about my own revelation and changes. And so I think when we all can honestly acknowledge, yeah, everyone's not there, but really focus on all the people that are and all the people that are making massive change in the world right now, that's how we're going to win. And focus on joining together, making our voices louder, and just leading in love, not shaming, not guilting, but just saying, I'm acknowledging, hey, it's not everyone, but I'm happy that we are moving forward in the right place. And I really, truly believe that us moving forward in the right direction is what's going to really move our social justice movement forward. And it's happening.
Yeah, yeah, it is encouraging, and it's so inspiring to hear you talk. I do believe that change happens in periods of uncomfortability. So if we're not uncomfortable, there's not going to be movement or progress. So we have to have these courageous conversations. We have to continue, and I just want to acknowledge you for all the work that you're doing as a spiritual teacher and leader, because sometimes we underestimate the power of one person but to create change. And it's so important for all of us, whatever platform we have, whatever community we have, to be able to share our voice and to start those conversations. And so, and I know for the wellness and yoga space especially, there hasn't in the past been so much diversity, and I grew up in a town of maybe like 4 or 5 minorities. So that experience of being sort of ostracized or made fun of because you're different, or not getting the same sort of opportunities, I think it is so brave and courageous to lead the way in that space and say, you open up doors for other people. Has that been your experience? Has that resonated at all, or what has your experience been like?
Absolutely. Once I committed to start talking about my own personal stories and sharing in ways and the education and the resources from amazing facilitators and educators and activists out there doing the work, once I made that commitment in my life, I've been seeing change not only in my heart, but all around me. And honestly, I feel like that's all we can do, make a personal commitment and watch the change just trickle out. So I have a self-care and social justice class that I take my students through and also take my team through. And then we also read the resources from other great authors. And I have a lot of people coming on my podcast to talk about just ways we can heal together and ways we can start promoting change worldwide. And I think that's the key.
Absolutely. Who, Koya, have been some of the biggest, inspirations or spiritual teachers in your life?
My biggest spiritual teacher is Reverend Bernard Beckwith. Going to Agape and really being in that community and learning about the book was The Course of Miracles, and learning fear versus love, and learning that, when you kind of break it down, those two emotions, I like to simplify things. It makes it easy for me to digest and understand vibrations of fear and vibrations of love and where I want to be, and understand that fear is technically feedback. So as feedback, it is also love too. And in that book, it talks about how love is all there is. And even if we look at fear as feedback, it's not something that we're trying to avoid. It's something we're leaning into to understand, to bring us back to love. And so Michael Bernard Beckwith, Lisa Nichols, just her way of empowering and just encouraging us to move forward, even when we're hardest hit, no matter what, has always been a story that is like sank deep into my soul. And, you know, people like Oprah from since I was a little girl, just proving that no matter what happens to you, you can be great and you are enough and you can make a huge change in the world. Those are just some of my favorite teachers.
Yes, yes, I love that. Thank you for sharing. I want to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship and finding the balance because you've done some amazing things to really grow your business and your brand and your community in such an organic way and really showing up and adding value and at the same time prioritizing self-care and balance, which I think can be challenging to do. I know my own personal journey as an entrepreneur. I really burned the candle on both ends and worked around the clock. And so, you know, being able to get sleep and prioritize your health and well-being while at the same time, I know you must have such a jam-packed schedule and demands in terms of how you're showing up in the world. So any tips for being able to balance that?
Absolutely. Number one, we got to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep. I know I don't always get it, but I remember times in life where I only got 4 hours of sleep and I got by with it, but it wasn't my healthiest state. Right now is my healthiest state where I'm getting 6 to 8 hours, and I don't always get 6 to 8 hours now. Sometimes it slips. And I think that's the thing, not trying to be perfect, but just develop a consistent practice. And when we focus on practice versus perfection, we become more mindful about how we flow through life. And even if we do get 4 hours here, we commit to 8 hours the next day. Then we get 5 hours here, we commit to six. And I think the 6 to 8 hours of sleep is number one important. Hydrating throughout the day. Hydration is so important. I drink 3 big mason jars, 32 ounces of water, at least 3 times a day in the morning. And then after like noontime, and then in the evening, sometime before sunset, and then try to eat fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds. Like, I think these practices of eating, hydrating foods is important. Sleep is important. Mindfulness is important. So when I wake up, I do meditation, breath work, and yoga. And I think that moving the energy, the prana, letting spirit flow through the body and connect us to the way we should move in the world is important first thing in the morning. People say, what if I can't do it in the morning? You can do it whenever it gets done. That it's done is most important. But I personally do it in the morning because it helps me not put other things before it. So that practice, and at night, just reflecting, writing your gratitude journal. What are you grateful for? What are you grateful for the day? And those are some of the practices that I do just to keep me grounded and in a state of love.
What motivates you to keep going? What inspires you?
What inspires me the most is just love. Seeing love in myself and also seeing love in others, seeing love in nature, seeing love reflected back. It motivates me to keep going. Those testimonials, those emails of you changed my life. I thank you for writing this. Thank you for saying this. I really needed to hear this today. That motivates me to wake up and just keep doing it.
Yes, I love that so much. What are you most excited about? What's on the horizon for you that you are just super excited about?
I am most excited about my yoga teacher training. I have an online yoga teacher training, and I'm certifying people to become holistic health and yoga instructors. And I know that I can't do this by myself. And my goal is to share the education that I've gotten from all the amazing teachers around the world and share that with others so we can multiply the information and multiply the healing and multiply the impact, and we can live in love consciousness, not in perfection, but just being conscious of love and fear and how they work together, and how we can really focus on how we can be the change we want to see in the world.
I love that. We'll definitely link to that teacher training in the show notes. Is there anything else that you want to share right now that is coming up?
Mm, I just want to share just Oh, when life gets hectic, when it feels like you have a million things on your mind, just breathe. Just slow down and breathe and know your presence is a protest. I think that just knowing, Viola Davis, I think, said that my presence is a protest, and just showing up and being loved, that is protesting fear. That is protesting shame and guilt and not feeling like you're enough. Just show up in love. And that alone, that's the best you can do.
Beautiful. Koya, where can people go to connect with you?
KoyaWebb.com, my website. Also Koya Webb on Instagram, KoyaWebb. Get Loved Up across platforms. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Just started a TikTok. It's just, I'm out there, but KoyaWebb.com is where you can kind of see all the things in one place.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we will link to all of those, and we'll also be giving away a copy of your amazing book. So tag Koya and I on Instagram and share your biggest takeaway from this conversation. Koya, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.
You too.